Welcome to the Wealthy Artist Podcast. And I'm your host, Sarah Clanton.
And I'm Wilson Harwood. And we're talking about how to develop your wealth,
enjoy financial freedom,
enjoy artistic freedom,
and live the life you've always imagined. What's up? What's up? It's Friday, but it's Monday in reality where you're listening. Or maybe it's not. Who knows what day of the week it is when you're listening to the podcast. But hey, welcome. We're back. We're punchy. We're recording today, episode number 20.
I'll get a little closer, even though it's pandemic.
We got masks on. You can probably hear it.
Yeah, episode 20. This is a big deal.
It's
I don't know if it's episode 20 for them, though. They're like,
I think
this is episode 20 for us in my file structure. So
this is our 20th recorded episode.
Yeah. So you guys are part of the celebration. We are so happy to be here.
Yes.
If you're listening in, we talked last time.
Welcome to part 2.
We're going to do part 2 about how to build your studio.
Yes. I mean, I was just thinking that I was thinking about a few people I know who have bought some gear this year that have been diving into a lot of sync licensing and stuff like that. And they're building home studios for the first time because, you know, we've all been forced to pivot and do different things. So I was just thinking how great this episode I think will be for folks who are not only just kind of diving into the audio stuff, but maybe, maybe doing audio in a new way.
Yeah, exactly. And if you haven't listened to the first part, you should definitely go back and listen to part 1.
Yeah.
This episode for sure is going to be on YouTube. The last one, I forgot to hit record on the video.
So we were pretending like we were on YouTube.
The YouTube thing is new for us. So
we are recording,
please give us a break on our technology
We're
abilities.
growing and learning with you all. And thanks for watching it. And
you are
here.
awesome. We love you.
Yeah, we love you.
But we're going to teach you guys how to freaking make your own music in your own home with a few pieces of gear and some knowledge.
So we talked about in the last episode the kind of room and like the basic gear that you need to get started.
Yes. So now we're going to pick up and talk about one thing about gear we didn't talk about were headphones and monitors last time.
You're
so I
right.
think it'll be kind of cool to talk about that first and like a couple other things, but I try to keep it as minimal as possible because I truly believe less is more.
Totally.
And spending less is more too for us artists.
Does that have anything to do with that book you read, Essentialism? We're going to also talk about that. What we talking about? Awesome. I can't wait to dive into that.
I know.
I digress.
Yeah. So basically we're going to talk about setting up your listening position to set up your speakers and then going a little bit further and talking about how to acoustically treat your room as well. So to start
kindly. That's how you acoustically treat it.
Just kindly. Treat it with respect. I treat every room with respect. I come in and
we gotta make the vibe. Anyway, sorry, I don't know.
The vibes are important.
It is very important. True. Hence the twinkly lights in the background.
Twinkle lights. We have twinkle lights and purple lights because we love purple.
Yeah, we do.
Do you know that purple is the creative color?
It is, and it's also, I think, the color of your 7th chakra.
Cool.
Your crown?
No, crown is white. Crown.
Okay.
Maybe it's the 3rd eye. I can't remember. Someone's like, you guys need to know this.
My woo-woo.
Your woo-woo is off.
My woo-woo is off today.
Woo-woo meter is...
It's confused.
Okay, I'm sorry, guys.
Sorry.
We really will start talking about something worthwhile. We're just having way too much fun today. So basically, the monitors that I use are the Yamaha HS8. So Yamaha makes these, middle of the road monitors. They're not cheap.
For the totally ignorant of us, what are monitor?
Monitors are speakers. So you have to listen through these speakers that are special that have what's known as a flat frequency response. What does that mean,
I don't
Sarah?
think I actually knew that. I knew you needed monitors, but I don't think I ever knew that.
Yeah, because you could use any old speaker, right? You could just get a Bose speaker, or you could use your
computer speakers,
your AirPods or computer speakers. I mean, and people are always like, well, why do I have to use these fancy, expensive speakers? And the answer is that you want speakers that don't have a huge boost in the bass and don't have a huge boost in the high end where the highs are, or a huge cut in the middle, because then your mixes, when you're mixing it or when you're listening back to your recordings, you're not hearing what's actually in the recording.
So are you recording more than with the flat? What did you say? Sorry. Flat
frequency response.
Flat frequency response. Does that mean you're kind of getting the most neutral sound?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And it doesn't necessarily sound good.
Right, but then you have more room to do stuff with it.
Yeah,
edit,
exactly.
Mix
Well, the
and
theory
stuff.
is that like when you mix it or record it and you then play it on like, let's say a Bose speaker, which we know has like a lot of bass. They're really known for having like, or like Beats headphones or something. Yeah, boom, boom.
That's my big bass sound.
Yeah, so much bass, Sarah. And then we should call you Sarah Bass.
Sarah Bass. That's a great stage name.
Yeah,
I'm changing
Sarah
it.
Bass.
Well, I guess I'm Sarah
play
Cello
cello,
on
though.
Instagram.
It's like,
I read the bass club. I'm already Sarah Cello. I can't be Sarah Bass. I don't know. Anyway.
Maybe in
Oops,
a couple
there I
years,
did it again.
you'll get a bigger instrument.
Maybe in a couple years.
But basically,
Anyway, monitors.
Oh my gosh, monitors. So with these monitors, you really just, I don't know what I'm saying.
You want them to have a flat frequency
Flat
response.
frequency response. That's right. So basically with the flat frequency response, you then translate your song or your mix to these Bose speakers, and they like, your bass sounds really big because it was flat originally. But if you added so much, or for example, if you listen to a speaker that had a lot of extra bass already in it and you're like, ooh, that's too much bass, so you brought it down, and then when you would translate it to those Bose speakers, you'd be like, where's my bass? And it's because your speakers told you that you had too much bass, when in reality there wasn't too much bass.
Speakers were lying.
Your speakers lie to you. And so you don't want lying, dishonest speakers.
No. You need flat
Yeah.
ones.
So if you guys want a quick and dirty, what speakers should I buy? I'm going to give you two options right off the bat.
Boom.
I think the Yamaha HS8s that I have are great. And I think the Rocket KRKs, these like those yellow speakers that everyone sees, are affordable, and they're supposed to be great too. There's one other that's going to be in my course that I can't think of off the top of my head. But
So Friday
my
right now.
main thing to say with speakers is you should, honestly, like anything, it's like buying an instrument. You should just go listen to them in the store if you can.
Yeah.
And I know Guitar Center allows you to listen to the speakers. It's not ideal, but like even these higher end places like Vintage King Audio here in Nashville,
I love that
you can
place.
like rent a listening session time or something for speakers. So ideally you listen to them first, but you know, if you're in a pinch, those are the two I recommend.
And for all of you all out there listening, if you have any favorite monitors that you just absolutely couldn't live without, please let us know.
Yeah, let us know. I'm always learning too. I'm not like the end all be all expert by any means.
But you know what works for you.
I know it works for me, and I know kind of what's been working for other people in the industry. So don't overthink it. But these monitors are the ones you want to get, at least something that's used for professional audio. Not
What
just regular
about
speakers.
what price range should you expect to spend for some monitors?
So mine, I think, are from around like $300 a pair.
Cool.
Or $300 per speaker. Sorry, so $600 total, $600 to $800 total. So pretty expensive. But you know, super professional studios would spend anywhere from like $1,000 to $5,000 to $10,000 on their monitors. So it can get ridiculously out of control pretty quickly.
You know, I would be interested at the end of this episode. It would be great for us to, I would love to know a total of like, okay, I need a base number. How much do I need to budget? You know, thinking about big picture and how much money you need to actually do your business. If I want to just do basic home studio, how much would that cost to get off the ground with all this that we talked about in part 1 and part 2? Maybe we could put that in the...
That's a good question. I haven't added up all the numbers.
Maybe we could do that and put that in the show description here.
But I mean, I think like you could probably do it for really cheap if you really wanted to. I know there's a great... this guy on YouTube who I really like called The Recording Revolution is his YouTube channel. And I highly recommend checking that out too. He's kind of quote unquote a competitor of mine in a way with my course coming out. But he's really all about like the cheapest thing, because he truly believes that like you can still get great results with that. My philosophy is a little bit like, okay, the cheapest cheap is maybe not quite the best.
Totally with you on that.
You know, like
not
middle
usually.
of the ground is where I stand. And also just my own experience with how I've done stuff is the results I'm getting. So,
anytime I bought the cheapest thing, I always have to buy something a little better. It always breaks. And I'm like, well, I could have saved myself the cheap thing. And
you know, you'll live and learn, but I'm trying to save you a little bit of time and money here. But yeah, so I think the total amount would probably be somewhere between $1,000 and $2,000.
Cool. Awesome.
Safe to say. And those Rocket speakers, I think, are a little cheaper. I think they're around like maybe $400 to $500 total for both. So yeah, and you can always buy stuff used. That's
absolutely
a great way
Craigslist,
to save money.
Facebook Marketplace.
Oh man, try to buy it used if you can. You know,
I'm having a Wealthy Artist podcast business idea. One of our side business, the many side businesses that we've decided we're going to start. I want to be able to start packages that you could buy right off our website of just like like a package. Here, you want to do a home studio, here's the stuff you need. It comes with microphone, headphones, and all this stuff from our favorite companies.
Great idea.
Maybe we can have like, oh my God, I'm glad we recorded this, so it's in the notes.
It's in the notes. We won't forget it.
But just because I think it's a little overwhelming sometimes going in like, all right, what do I Google?
It's
and like,
totally overwhelming.
And so I love these recommendations. And
yeah.
So you also mentioned headphones?
Yeah, headphones. Yeah. So your headphones might be more important than your speakers. And the reason is that because we talked about, how room acoustics affect your recording so much in the last episode, your headphones cut out the room, right? Your speakers, what you're hearing is the sound coming out of the speakers and then bouncing off all the walls in your room and making the sound different from what you really want to hear out of the speakers. So headphones are a great way to get an accurate response, somewhat accurate. The thing with headphones is that they also have not a flat frequency response. So some of their bass might be a little boosted, their highs might be boosted. Things like that, yeah. I've
got a pair of Audio Technicas, and I really love these. I got these for maybe $50 on Amazon. I think those are great. And I really like I needed something a little bit better, but I was like really pinched for money at the time. But I'm like so happy with these Audio Technica. Yeah. But I would love to be able to invest like, I felt like it was kind of a good middle of the road price to pay for headphones. Because again, I didn't want to buy just like the $20 ones.
They look nice and I'm sure they're comfortable. And then the ones I use are the Sony MDR 7506s, which I love. They're a little bright, but you kind of get used to them. And
can you buy flat frequency?
Yeah, you can. Headphones? You can buy headphones that are specifically designed for mixing, and I think the really expensive open back ones probably give you the most accurate sound.
Does this also simulate the room? Is that what the open back's about?
No, the open backs actually, they have a thing where the back of the I don't know exactly how this works, but you can actually hear the sound coming out of the headphone. It's supposed to give you more of a spacious sounding, instead of being closed in your head like headphones are, it sounds more open. It's giving you a more accurate response.
Wow.
Those are great. Down the road, they're like $500 though, so it's like a big investment.
But that's nice to know. So you can get like a great pair for like $50, but you could spend as much as $500.
Yep. Yeah. Cool. $500-$800. You can spend as much as you want,
Yeah,
but
that's true.
those are the big ones. And then the other ones that I have there, which are the Sennheiser MDR. What are they?
I always like Sennheiser.
Oh yeah, the HD
headphones. Anytime I put them on, they're actually really comfortable too.
Yeah, they're really great. The Sennheiser HD 280s are the other ones I recommend, and both of these are $100 to $120.
Cool.
And those HD 2020s are great because you don't hear a lot of the sound coming out of them. So when you're recording like guitar or something like that, you won't hear it coming through into your mic.
Gotcha.
So you won't hear the track you're listening to come into the mic recording the guitar. So that's headphones. There's a little more stuff that I want to talk about that, but I'm going to save that for the course that I have that I'll tell you guys more about in the end of the show and in the show notes. But let's keep moving here. So you've got monitors. Next? The next thing that we want to talk about is how you would acoustically treat your room.
This is a delicate situation.
Yeah. So for those of you watching on YouTube right now, you can see that there's some acoustic panels behind me. There's some on the side. We've got some bass tracks in the corner here. Sarah's showing it all off. So yeah, we've got all these different acoustic panels around my home studio. And the acoustic panels are essentially there to absorb the sound and reduce the amount of sound that's bouncing off the walls and coming right back into your ears.
Which you can hear if like you don't have a treated room and you clap and there's like a
reverb.
Like a reverb, or you hear like an echo of a clap, the slap back, yeah.
The slap echo, yeah.
Yeah, you can tell that you need absorption.
Yeah. And this room is big. Like before we put acoustic treatment in this room, it sounded like an echoey church. It was
I'm sure.
Crazy. And now you can hear it, Sarah. Like you barely hear the room. It's crazy.
It's true. And I mean, I've attempted to make home studios in the past in my houses that I've lived in East Nashville. And I remember one time we hung up moving blankets behind rugs.
Yeah.
On the walls. Like actual floor rugs.
Totally.
On the wall because we didn't have this treatment. And it seemed to work pretty well.
It'll work a little bit.
Yeah.
It's not
okay.
like The thing about this stuff is it quickly gets into physics, and like suddenly you'll get all these nerds on the internet being like, packing blankets won't work because they don't absorb frequencies across the whole frequency spectrum or something like that. Like I don't know why I keep doing this sort of southern accent, but like
it's just a mood today.
Yeah, it's a mood. But like at the same time, it's better than nothing, right? Like you guys did it, right. And it was better than nothing. So.
Seem that way.
But there's two options here. You can buy acoustic treatment, which is what I did, and I bought it from this great company called GIK Acoustics, who we would love to be sponsored by.
Aren't they not
Atlanta.
in this country? Oh, you were talking about somewhere that's far away that makes. Maybe that was something else.
They do stuff all over the world.
Okay.
I don't know.
I was thinking disregard. Edit, delete.
Edit, delete. I'm not editing anything. But basically, yeah, so you can buy these acoustic panels, which will save you time, but cost a little more money. Mm-hmm. Or you can build them, and there's tons of great YouTube videos on how to build acoustic panels. And we'll post one of my favorites I have in the show notes, because some of them I look at them, I'm like, I think that they're kind of doing it wrong.
What's it called? What's your favorite?
It's just a link to someone building. I can't remember the exact name of the video.
We'll link you.
We'll link it to
whoever
in the
you
show
are. Thanks for the video.
Yeah. And I will have some come in soon too.
I'm excited about your workshop.
Yeah,
totally. I'm excited, and we're going to be talking about in other episodes about home buying. But like, I'm in the process of thinking about potentially buying a home, and like this excites me to think about like, when I one day have my own space, like how I could, like, create a home studio.
Yeah,
so
totally.
I'm excited about your course. I'm learning so much right now.
Yeah, well, that's the goal. I mean, I think everyone, can go as far or as little amount as they want into this home studio journey. And, I think even going to the point where you have a laptop, some headphones, and like one mic, like you have a home studio there. Like that's great.
And I've heard, stories of people using just that, like in a van, like when they're on tour.
Exactly.
So yeah, exactly. You can go as deep as you want.
Yeah, as deep as you want. And so, but if you want to go a little deeper with this acoustic treatment, I've found that it gives you professional results really quickly, and I think it's totally worth the money if you're going to be doing recordings in your studio that you want to then use. If you're just doing demos, like maybe you don't need acoustic treatment, like whatever. If you want to do any mixing, definitely recommend acoustic treatment.
What's your goal?
Yeah, whatever your goal is. If you're like, hey, I'm just trying to record so I can have something that sounds better than my phone, it's like, okay, maybe don't spend money on acoustic treatment,
right?
But for couple $100 up to $1,000, you can really make your room sound like a professional studio. And so the way to do that, what I always recommend for people is that you start with bass traps. And I'm not going to go super in depth in like the science and how it all works, but I'm just going to give you a quick rundown. And if you're interested in more, of course, you can take the course later on. Woo! But basically, you want to put bass traps, which are a special kind of acoustic treatment, in all of your corners, because bass builds up in the corners. So we're essentially trapping. Sounds like plaque. It is like plaque. It's sound plaque. And you literally are trapping the bass in the corners.
And why don't we want that to happen?
Because then you won't hear the bass.
Oh.
You don't want this.
It gets sucked into the corners?
Yeah, and it builds up. It's like whoa, 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 whoa.
Like the sound of when the car window's down, but not two car windows? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. That.
Yeah, not like that? Okay.
Not like that. Right. But, it's like...
Edit, delete.
Yeah. I'm keeping everything in this episode. But basically, starting with the bass traps, because I think that'll give you the most immediate results.
Gotcha.
For
Makes
your money.
your room most neutral?
Yeah, you'll start to hear like, oh, my room sounds better. And you're like, wow, just putting stuff in the corners helped. So once you have your bass traps put in the corners, then you want to start looking at your listening position. So essentially, I look at a home studio. Let's say your average home studio is a pretty small room, like maybe a bedroom like 10 feet by 12 feet. So a lot of the room is your listening position, because you're like, sitting at your computer, and that's where you do the recording, right? And the whole room isn't going to take up that much space. So if you treat just even half your room, it's going to sound better. So my whole theory with this is that we want to create what's called a reflection-free zone. And you're essentially going to, when you're sitting at your computer with your speakers on the left and right side of you, you want to cover the right wall with some acoustic treatment directly to the right of your ears, and then some acoustic treatment on the left wall directly to the left of your ears. And then you want to hang a piece of acoustic treatment called a cloud directly over your head. And this will create...
So you get to be Olaf.
Yeah, you get to be Olaf. Essentially, you're just like reducing all these reflections that are going to come out of the speaker, hit the wall immediately next to your ears, and then bounce back into your ears, causing all sorts of acoustic distortion you don't want.
So do you need to, I've seen folks do this before. I know, like, you need to, will you cover in your course, like, how to measure how far away to be from your speakers so that you know where to hang that cloud?
I do. Yeah.
And stuff like that. Yeah, cool. You're actually giving me, like, this is just so great because, like, I'm not necessarily going to, like, take on the measuring tape, but I'm just thinking about, like, I do Zoom concerts and stuff right now during the pandemic, and I'm giving my own workshop on song registration, and I have some stuff in my room, like, that's like on stands for sound absorption, but it's not in any of those places that you're saying. And so I'm like, oh, I wonder how it will sound if I just play with moving that stuff. So, wow, that was just super valuable. That was awesome.
And you know, like, so that's for like setting up your listening position, which doubles as a great place. Like when you
recording too?
For recording too.
Gotcha.
And this is what I found when I started on this journey about 5 years ago, is I was like, whoa, if I set up all this acoustic treatment in my room, actually I can just set up a mic in front of my computer and record, and it sounds great because I've reduced all those reflections.
Gotcha.
So now, like, I recorded, and I would recommend that all guys and girls, like, record. All you people,
all you humans, or non-humans, all beings
are welcome.
All sentient beings listening.
You can record right in front of your computer, which is the most logical place for someone on their own to record anyways. So that's like the best place to record. And I was like, oh, this works for and then when you want to get into mixing or listening back, it also sounds great. So for me, it's like, this is a win-win-win-win-win. You're not going to be recording in like an isolation booth, because that's too much work to like press record, get up, go in your isolation booth, but like, go back in, like, bleep that out, go back in and like, okay, I gotta, it just doesn't make sense. If you're just sitting at your computer and it sounds great, it's the best.
Unless you have like a remote control for your Pro Tools.
Yeah, exactly.
Does that exist yet? It's another side project.
It exists for Logic.
It does?
Yeah, you can do it on your.
Oh my God!
You can get it on your phone or your on your iPad. That's like the front half of your room, right? So then the back of the room, which you can see behind us here if you're watching on YouTube, there's diffusion panels.
Which, you know what? I guess I kind of thought that those were bass traps. I mean, I'm just totally naive here when it comes to actual recording. I love to play and I love to sing and I love to,
I mean, you wouldn't know this stuff.
No, but like, I guess I thought it was like, because there's like holes and stuff in those. And I think this is the company I was thinking that you were going to talk about. Yeah. And like, so there's like holes and stuff. I was like, oh, I guess bass gets trapped in there. But
I mean, it totally kind of does. But like, the main thing with those diffusion panels, and those are diffusion and absorption. So like, they have this wood paneling on the front where sound will hit it and bounce off, and then some sound will get absorbed through the holes.
Cool.
So it's kind of mixing what gets bounced off and what gets absorbed. And what it's doing is dispersing the sound back out into the room in a more even dispersion.
So cool.
So that'll sound more pleasant, because if your speakers hit the back wall and it bounces directly right back towards your ear, you're going to get certain frequencies canceled out or certain frequencies boosted that aren't actually there, because the waves, the whole thing behind waves, by the way, is like, you remember seeing like if two waves hit each other in a pool, they can either hit each other and they'll get bigger, or they might just cancel each other out and the waves won't be there anymore.
Great mermaid analogy.
I got the mermaid analogies going today. So that's essentially what we're doing with all this treatment, is we're trying to reduce all these waves from canceling each other out or boosting each other, or things like that.
Wow.
So
to get the, I guess, most truest recording, truest sound.
Yeah. The
neutral
goal is you're trying to get a pleasant sound in the room, but also capture the sound of the instrument or your voice as its essence, not affected too much by the room. And
I think the pleasantness is really up to the listener. Or to the person who's recording, whatever you're doing, because I think we all have different tastes, but that's kind of the beauty of all of it. It's an art form all in itself. I mean, learning about this right now, I'm just like, wow, there's just so much more that goes into it than we even think about when we walk into a home studio or a professional, or not that home studios aren't professional, but like maybe like something on Music Row in Nashville. I don't know. I think we take for granted all this amazing science that has gone into, like, I went into a mastering studio one time, and like the room itself it took $300,000 to build the room. And I know it's like way, more than what we're talking about right now, but I just think sometimes we forget how like
it's
truly
a beautiful
important.
thing.
It's so cool.
As I've gotten deeper and deeper into it, my appreciation for the engineering.
Thank you for helping me appreciate it as well.
The engineering behind all this, the science mixed with the art, I think is like what captures my love. Is I'm like, oh, this is the perfect mix of math and art.
That about you.
And so if you're that type of person, you might go as far as I did and like get obsessed with it. But if you're more of a true artist, as I say,
I don't know. It's all subjective.
It's all subjective. But I think a lot of artists are like, I don't want to get too deep into all this. So I'm just laying all this out there.
But you're spoon feeding this. You're making me who would have never like I couldn't say that at the end of this episode. I would have felt more like energized to like I'm literally thinking when I go home, I want to put bass traps up for my
put bass traps up.
You know,
like, whoa, it sounds so much better.
I think thank you so much for passing that appreciation on. Because I'm like surprisingly inspired. I'm surprising myself right now.
That's awesome.
Yeah, thanks, Wilson.
And there's one last thing to this whole room acoustic treatment piece that I like to talk about, which is putting some acoustic treatment behind your speakers on the front wall. And I don't have it right now in my studio.
You have a pretty picture?
I do have a nice picture. But like directly behind your speakers and like across the whole back wall there, if your speakers are coming out anywhere from 0 to 4 feet from the back wall, you probably need to acoustically treat behind them, because especially the bass frequencies that reverberate off the back of the speaker will hit the back wall, bounce off, come to your ear, and the same cancellation will occur again.
Whoa.
Where you either might hear too much bass or too little bass, depending on where you're sitting in the waveform. Wow. Boom, right? That's like, whoa, that's too much information. I just think
it's crazy. Like, I think it's, I'm going to go woo-woo a little bit if this is what you call woo-woo, but like playing music, making music is all just moving air around. Yeah. Like it's all just like moving, like we're talking about how to manipulate like the sound that's bouncing around the room.
I never thought about it.
Yeah, like when you sing, like when you exhale, right? When you blow, like you can feel that, right? When you're singing, the same thing happens.
Yeah,
and it's
right,
just,
but it's not like coming from you. Right. It's not coming from the instrument. It's literally just how we move the air.
Yeah, and the ripple effect of our...
Ah, that's so beautiful.
Oh,
I never thought about that. That's awesome. Yeah, it is. We're just moving air. We're air movers.
We're air movers, y'all.
We're aeronauts. Anyways, half the people just stop listening. But basically...
Welcome back.
But basically, for a lot of people, and what I did for all my home studios up to this current studio I'm in, is actually it worked out best based on all the dimensions of my listening and everything like that, that I should push the speakers all the way up against the back wall. Oh. And by pushing them all the way up against the back wall, you don't get that immediately bounce off the wall, because that distance is so small that when it bounces off the wall, it's not affecting the cancellations.
Less inertia?
Well, it's because the
distance.
Of sound? It's like the distance from the back of the speakers to the wall. So you shorten that, so there is none. No, so the bass waves aren't really bouncing off the wall as much as that they're coming directly out of the speaker themselves.
Gotcha.
And so that distance is so much shorter that in theory you're getting less of this effect, which is called speaker boundary interference response. Whoa. For all you nerds, SBIR. So that's the general rule. Like if your speakers are off your wall and you like the way that sounds, put acoustic treatment behind them. If you like the way your speakers are right up against the wall, and this is what I recommend for most people, is put them right up against the wall and see how they sound. And
it's probably better for if you have limited space too, right?
Exactly. Yeah. If you're in a small bedroom, put them right up against the wall. They'll do well, better that way. And that's basically a very quick and dirty rundown. Like I said, I have a whole course that goes way more in depth on how to do all this.
And when are you launching that course?
February.
Awesome. 2021
is the goal. Maybe sooner. But if you want to get on the email list, go to soundproofyourstudio.com, www.soundproofyourstudio.com, and you can sign up on the email list there. And I will be letting you guys know when it launches. You'll get probably a really big discount for the first people to sign up. And they
get a free something, right, when they sign up? Do you get like a free mini course or something?
There's a free mini course on how to soundproof your studio, which is maybe a little more advanced, but it's still kind of interesting if you're interested in that.
So cool, Wilson, what you're doing.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I
mean,
same
literally.
With Sarah. She's got an amazing course going on right now.
I just love that, it's so fun to help other people.
It is so fun.
So great to talk about it, and I think there's some comfort in having these discussions too, because you never know how it might inspire you. And
Well, it's inspired the crap out of me. I mean, I'm obsessed with teaching artists how to do it. And the running joke right now is when people come to work at my studio and I produce with them, I'm constantly telling them how to do it. I'm like, you don't need me. Don't hire me. Save your money. Save your money and go do this on your own, you know? And I mean, that's sort of true. Honestly, I think that producers bring a lot to the table, but the gear is totally attainable. I mean, you can do a lot of the work yourself.
But you know, I heard of Brandy Carlisle interview on Broken Record podcast. The Broken Record podcast is one of my favorites, and I really love the point that she brought up because like, you know, we can all be good at a million different things, and it's great to be able to know how to do this stuff, especially right now. But when we do find someone that we like working with that can do those things, even if you know how to do them, like Brandy Carlisle was talking about how when she got into the studio with Dave Cobb, like she finally felt like she could just be the artist.
Wow.
And like actually
that was her last record,
right?
So this whole time she hasn't felt like she could just be the artist.
Yeah, like she was also playing producer, and I was like, you know what, I love that, because it's another one of those things, like know what your not to do list is, and you know, and like bringing on your team and paying other people and you know, showing them how much you value them and for what they do and all the learning that they've done, because like, you know what, I'm 36 years old, I'm already like this many years behind in audio stuff, and I have other things to focus on, but I'm glad to know what I can do at home and that it is obtainable. And I'm so grateful to also have people like you, Wilson, who can do it and who have more fun doing it too. So we need all the people at all the different levels.
It's so true. Well, I'm grateful to have you with all this stuff on how to learn about how to get my royalties on my songs. Oh. So check out Sarah's course too. Shit's coming out pretty soon.
It's out and about. It's right sarahclanton.com. You should be able to check out the details on the homepage right now. And I'm working on what workshops are going to be available in 2021. So just trying to spread my wings.
Yeah, I believe I can fly.
Yeah, I used the wrong lyrics with the wrong melody there.
Spread my wings and I'm stealing this song.
This
we
is
love
great.
you all. This has
thanks
been great.
for listening.
This is part 2 of the 2-part series. And you know, tune in next week. If you guys can give us 5 stars on iTunes, that helps so much with getting the podcast in the algorithmic world. And we also have a Patreon.
We do. We've just lost a
We just lost a patron.
No. We launched a Patreon page. And so if you'd like to support us in the production of our show, you can become a member there, and you're going to get access to all of our stuff and our content early. You'll be the first to know about, you know, any exciting happenings, which we've got a lot of plans. We have so many ideas, and it really wouldn't work if you all didn't show up here with us, and we'd just be talking to ourselves. So thank you for being a part of the Wealthy.
Cool doing, you know.
It's all good. But, the Wealthy Artist community here is so important to us, and we're having so much fun, and we appreciate your feedback and sharing this journey with you.
Yeah. Thanks so much. We'll see you next week.